streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold. Now he walks in purpose, pure and true. He was born to...
Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and man, do we have a tremendous show for you this evening. But first, I have a question for you. The question is, how can theater, humor, and storytelling become powerful tools that inspire hope and transform lives? In this episode of Born to Speak to You TV, my very special guest, who is an actor, an educator, pastor, and teaching artist, we're going to have a conversation about the performing arts to communicate truth, strengthen communities, and inspire positive change. You will discover how faith, creativity, and authentic conversation can bridge divides, preserve history, and empower people of all ages to speak life through every single story they tell. So buckle up and let's take a ride. You're not going to want to miss this. This is Born to Speak to You TV, and we'll be right back in 60 seconds. Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV, where we're speaking life into the moments that matter. This isn't just a show. It's a movement. It's a space where stories are honored, voices are lifted, and truth has a mic. Each episode, we dive into powerful conversations on identity, on equity, growth, healing, leadership, and the courage that it takes to speak up in a world that often wants us to keep quiet. Whether it's through personal testimony, community impact, or artistic expression, Born to Speak to You is where voices rise and change begin. Our mission is simple: to empower people to use their voice, own their truth, and build bridges of communication and understanding. So, sit back or lean in, because you're about to witness what happens when passion meets purpose. This is Born to Speak to You TV. Let's speak life. Yeah, here we go, y'all. Here we go. Another episode of Born to Speak to You TV. Today's episode is entitled Speaking Truth Through the Performing Arts. And my guest today has spent more than 3 decades inspiring lives through faith, education, theater, and communication. Michael Edgar Myers is an accomplished actor. He's an educator. He's a pastor. He's a teaching artist and co-founder of Kingdom Impact Theater Ministries. From stage to the classroom, he has dedicated his career to helping people communicate more effectively, build stronger relationships, and discover the power of storytelling. Welcome to Born to Speak to You, Michael.
Thank you, Calvin, and thank you for explaining to me what I do.
My pleasure. That's what I do. I dig deep and then I explain stuff.
Well, thank you.
Indeed. Now, story on how you and I met, because I think it's amazing to be able to come to this time, this day, in this place, this way. But I started following you on social media. I believe we were Facebook friends because we were both involved in theater, and we had never met in person. Right. So one day I happened to be at a restaurant with my wife. I think it was Cracker Barrel. And I saw this guy and I was like, that looks like somebody I know. What's his name? And I walked over and I said, excuse me, do I know you? Are you Michael? Is your name Michael? And we just took it from there and formally met each other. So I always tell my wife that was meant to happen.
And what I remember about that is I think we had conversed earlier in the day, and I was having a story conference with a prospective playwright, and I looked over and there you were. And it's like, oh yeah, I put my thumb up because you had to be bigger than a thumbnail. That's all I'd seen you before. And
Right.
you're about the same size now, as a matter of fact.
Indeed. But anyway, welcome to Born to Speak to You TV. I like to invite the guests to jump in with me onto the deep end, because that's where the party's at. So
All right.
Are you ready?
Let's
go. Let's go. Our first segment is going to be called The Journey. So I want you to tell us about your journey. How did acting, education, and ministry become connected in your life?
My background is in journalism. I was a newspaper reporter for many years, and growing up, we as a family always dabbled in theater and arts and doing shows in the living room. And there came a point in my journalism career where I wanted to switch. And so I moved to Chicago from Indianapolis to work in the theater, and did that professionally for many years. In fact, the first year, several of the goals I wanted to achieve, I achieved. As time moved on, when you get into the professional end of some careers, that's where you socialize a lot. I kind of let the socialization take over and lost my way a little bit. And then I met Vicky, my wife. And after meeting Vicky, we had gone through the dating phases and reached a point where something was missing, and that was our conversation about faith. And once that occurred, we came together, and there were students at the church where we were attending, realized that we were professional actors, and they asked if we would start a drama ministry. And that's how we made the transition from theater professionally to ministry theater. And I had been touring with an improv comedy troupe for many years, doing educational comedy coast to coast for schools and colleges, taking some of those concepts plus what I'd learned at Second City doing improv classes. And that's how we developed Kingdom Impact Theater, assigning to those biblical principles. So we took Bible study and scene study, and that's the core foundation of where we are.
Fantastic. So what has kept you passionate about this work for more than 30 years?
What's kept me passionate for more than 30 years has been continually making discoveries about myself, about my faith, but particularly how the faith that Vicky and I follow affects other people. And we're able to encourage people to speak faith and discover truth comfortably. And that's kind of exciting in seeing a spark in someone else be ignited.
Okay. Now, oftentimes when we embark on a journey, there's someone that's there who either inspires us or who mentors us. Who might that person be for you?
Ooh, that's a good one, because there have been several. I'm not in theater theater trained. That is, I didn't go to school for that. I've been very blessed to have several directors who have had an influence in what we do. Two particular directors. One is Jonathan Wilson, the late Jonathan Wilson, who was the chairman, I believe, at Loyola University. Jonathan actually directed both Vicky and me in separate shows, and that was part of our actual camaraderie and when we were dating, Vicky and me both knowing Jonathan. And another is a gentleman named Scott Glasser, D. Scott Glasser, who was the artistic director of Madison Repertory Theater in Madison, Wisconsin. Again, he worked with both of us in separate shows, but both Jonathan and Scott gave us process is to communicate with people, to pay attention to detail, and keep an efficient set, but be disciplined.
Okay, that's the main thing: being disciplined and committed,
Mm-hmm.
without getting committed. I like to say.
I've been
But,
close.
Yep. And I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you as well because I also started a theater group in DuPage AME Church. How can theater reach people in ways that lectures or sermons sometimes cannot?
The strongest asset I think theater has over a sermon or a lecture is creating a common experience so that people can relax more. They're not necessarily expecting sometimes to be spoken to. When you go into a lecture, when you go into a sermon, folks are on edge, frankly. If you have an issue, say, with substance abuse, or if you have an issue with personal identity, you're maybe, they're going to speak to me and I don't want to hear it. You're on the defensive. But in theater, you basically sit back and listen, and then it creeps up on you. That's one. Also, the ability to relax and hear truth in the humor, which is different from comedy. But hearing truth in the humor causes folks to go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. So getting people entertained and relaxed is a big asset.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Michael, we're going to put a pin in it for a second. We'll be back in 60 seconds. This is Born to Speak to You TV. We'll be right back. This is Calvin Gibbs with Born to Speak to You TV, and here's your Born to Rise tips. Sometimes the best things you can do is not think, not wonder, not imagine, don't obsess. Just breathe and have faith that everything will work out for the best. Oftentimes we make ourselves sick, worrying, obsessing, having anxiety about what's going to be. Just have faith that everything is going to come out okay. And usually it does. The things that you're worrying about have no merit in your life. They're there to confuse you, to make you feel weak, to make you feel inadequate. So the best thing you can do is don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Don't wonder about it. Don't obsess over it. Just have faith that everything will work out for the best. From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm Calvin Gibbs. My guest today is Michael Edgar Myers, and we are talking about speaking truth through the arts. Michael, can you share a performance that you know changed someone's life, or maybe even changed yours?
Ooh, you are deep.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. The what has changed? I think we did a show that one of our shows is the 411 on John 3:16. It's a rap and a review, and we don't always, as Kingdom Impact Theater, get to see what happens with the audience. But when we do a show, we often let the pastors have an opportunity to do an invitation afterwards and connect the material that people just saw to their real lives. And Vicki and I were backstage one time, and this was shortly after we began, and the pastor gave an invitation, and we're assessing the show in like, oh man, we missed this line, we didn't get this laugh, etc. The pastor gave an invitation, and we heard someone come down front. I had not experienced that. Definitely not experienced that in professional theater. And that was a turning point for us because we started to realize it's not just about us learning the lines, singing the songs. It's about the message that we've been empowered to give. So we owe that art, the art of theater ministry, the best, just as the Levites were in charge of leading people into worship. And that was a severe turning point as far as the performance.
Yeah, that I give you kudos, sir.
Yeah, that was him.
Excellent answer. Excellent answer. Because that's why we do what we do, because we want to get the truth about God, about Jesus Christ out there and see lives be transformed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like speaking words from the pulpit. It's a very serious work doing drama theater because you're affecting change in people's lives, and you want to give them what they need and get them on the right track. Go ahead.
We actually I didn't when we started. I knew nothing about theater in church. That was one of the great discoveries that Vicki and I made when the students asked us if we would lead a drama troupe. So I started writing material because I had been a playwright in the Chicago industry and adapting scripts. And that's how we came up with our charter, our motto, the best script is scripture. We went away from calling it the drama ministry, though, because drama has one timber, and that's, I think, where a lot of people in church, it's heavy, it's deep, it's not. We went to theater ministry to broaden the scope to allow improvisation and comedy in as well, because all of those are elements of truth telling, and Christ used those different examples himself.
That's true. And in fact, when my former pastor found out that I had theater experience, my wife and I, he's like, well, you can't join this church and not use your gifts. And, you know, he said he wanted me to come to a scheduled meeting, bring a draft of what a drama ministry would look like. He said he doesn't want to use the word drama in the name of the group. That's why we came up with DuPage Theater Group. He didn't want any drama in the church.
No, except in the pews.
Yeah, really. And, you know, once I drew up that map of how I would work with the other ministries in the church, the music, the choir, some of the other ministries going on, he said, okay, well, let's give it a shot. And he actually gave me the first play that he wanted us to do. The Devil, I think was called The Devil on Trial.
Okay.
Case number 666. And it had about 24 different characters in it. So, of course, the ministry being new in the church, a lot of people wanted to check it out and be a part of, and none of them had any acting experience whatsoever. But we pulled it off. Everybody was pleased. I was pleased. And we got our legs under us and started moving forward. But we never used the word drama again. It's always...
Your pastor was very wise in asking you to design what the ministry would look like. We do leadership training as well, using some of the theater skills in small workshops. And part of the reason we do that is because of the leadership development that we had from the Christian Education Committee that invited us to that sponsored us when we started Kingdom Impact Theater Ministry. We had to write things down. And as an actor, that was not something that I was thinking about. My primary goal as an actor was, as Spencer Tracy said, show up on time, learn my lines, and don't fall off the stage. So we had to think through that and what are the responsibilities. And as we have changed over the 30 years of ministry, that's been a consistent theme for us, is to reevaluate what we're doing, why we're doing it, and also pass it on to, for example, worship ministries, worship ensembles. When you're building new people, why are you performing on Sunday mornings, for example? So all of this is a basic foundation of theater and ministry.
Absolutely, absolutely. I always told him, once we got the theater group going and a couple years into it, I always told him, I said, you just wanted to see how serious I was. That's why you had me draw that up. I don't know any other ministry in the church that got started. And mind you, we were in new members class when he found out this information and pulled me to the side about doing this. He wanted to see how serious I was.
And I think we get challenged a lot as in the performing arts, in ministry, certainly, that you're not really that serious. Sometimes even the presenters, the performers, I can act, I can sing, I got a great voice, will come in and not necessarily take the craft seriously. And so we're challenged to constantly understand why we're doing what we want to do, so that it's not just about me. And those kinds of challenges help us grow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's move on to our next segment. It's called The Power of Humor.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, the power of humor. I know that you spent years using humor to teach communications and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Why does humor work so well?
Humor works well because, from a scientific element, we're wired for that way. We're wired for cognitive dissonance. You're walking down a line, going straight, and something comes upside your head, and you awaken quickly. That's why they call it a punchline. You're brighten up the synapses, and the rest of the brain kind of becomes aware, and you hear things differently because you're more alert. So that's a scientific realm of humor. From a just being in the audience, you remember things better. You pay attention more. You're more entertained. Folks like comedy, which is, again, different from humor. The difference being comedy is more scientific. It's planned. We play with where the punchline is going to go. We'll flip and invert words. Humor, I define as, has been defined to me as the ability to see the non-serious element in a serious situation. Mm-hmm. So folks will say, I don't have a sense of humor. Yes, you do. If you're created in God's image, he gave you a sense and awareness of humor. What you find funny may not be the same as what I find funny, but the ability to find things funny is also healing. And so those are some of the powers of humor.
Perfect answer. Thank you for that. I have for years said God has a sense of humor because he made me. He has a sense of humor. When things have happened in life, I've been able to laugh at it because I was like, okay, this is kind of funny and I'm going through this. And there's a reason why I'm going through it. And there's also a reason why I'm smiling and laughing as I'm going through it, because I see the humor in it, So thank you for...
Sometimes, Calvin, the ability to laugh in a certain situation has saved people's lives.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yes.
I toured many years, and the studies in humor I did with a gentleman named Jim Winter, who was the founder of Wavelength. He and his wife Rochelle founded Wavelength, which was the company that I toured doing educational comedy for teachers over the years. And we'd hear stories that were very on the hard line, where teachers would have a deep, dangerous encounter with a student. And the student would do something that was just absurd, that this teacher would internally begin to laugh at, and the student would be disarmed. Why are you laughing? It's in my head. Just trust me. It's okay. And the student would start laughing because laughter is infectious. and diffused the whole situation. So that ability, whatever it was in the teacher's head, to laugh at that moment, diffuse the situation, and you're walking around, what was that? Why are we laughing? Well, we were so mad at each other. So,
Yeah, yeah. I've heard Chris Rock say the same thing. He's from Brooklyn as well as I, and uh, laughter can help people navigate conflict.
mm-hmm.
If you can get people to laugh, at a time when you're about to get beat up and get your sneakers taken, or your money, or your lunch taken away from you, if you can get them to laugh, there's a possibility of diffusing that situation and going on with your sneakers, with your money, and with your lunch, and everybody's okay with it. So
Yeah.
yes, yes, indeed. But Michael, what's one lesson everyone should learn about the use of humor appropriately?
Appropriate use of humor is to avoid sarcasm,
Mm,
except with individuals that you've established a relationship with. Because for many folks, especially if they're not mature, growing up, young children especially, sarcasm can be sarcasm can be scarcasm. It can leave a scar because folks may not know that you're teasing in a pleasant way. So you've really got to establish a relationship with an individual in order to be personal with the humor and light banter.
okay. All right. Thank you for that. We're going to put a pin in it, and we'll be right back in 60 seconds. This is Born to Speak to You TV. We are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV, and we are speaking truth through the performing arts with my guest, Michael Edgar Myers. Our next segment, sir, is called Empowering the Next Generation. It's important. This segment is important. My wife and I talk about the next generation all the time. What are today's young people struggling with when it comes to communication?
Struggling with communication. Young people are struggling with communication and knowing how to speak comfortably, comfortably without fear. What happens a lot of times is because of the device is here, and the generations are learning to write things out kind of hidden. So you're behind a screen and you don't take into account the entire communication instrument, which is the tone, the visual, and even the body. The digital generation, the digital generation, as I call them, are dealing with impersonal interaction. And communication is not just sharing information. That's a misconception. Communication, I would define as being able to express what you have to say so that another person understands and accepts what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same as agreeing. So, we can't communicate. Well, we can't communicate because he has this opinion, I got this, and he's never listening. Are you clear that the person understands, and are you, the recipient, willing to listen long enough and repeat back what you think you understand? And so it's not been taught, the give and take of communication.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with that. Once upon a time, it seems like almost another life ago, my theater company at that time, New Branch Theater Company, was contracted to work with some children in a underrepresented area of Illinois for summer school. And we had the kids reading and we had the kids writing. And then the second year we came back, the superintendent said, well, I want you to add math into it, a math component. So we thought about it as a group, the theater company did. What can we do to get these children to not only communicate with each other, but communicate with the audience? We came up with, and use math and reading skills.
Okay.
We decided to have them get a cloth. They would measure out, the amount of cloth needed to make a shirt or a smock or whatever the case may be. We had them using coupons and newspapers. This is what they would go to our theater store and buy things with and have money left over. So we taught them how to count money, how to do transactions, how to read a ruler properly, how to measure things. And it was, at the end of it, we told them, we said, this is all about communication. It's not just theater. In theater, we do all of this. Okay, in your day-to-day lives, you do all of this. And for some of them, we could see the light bulb come on, And I told the superintendent, don't do this to us next year. We're here for theater, but it was great to work with the kids and get them thinking about things other than just reading and writing. But what advice would you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, please go ahead.
I was going to build on that as far as getting young people to understand that you do communicate to get people to understand even the math. If you get it wrong, you still want to take the time to share the information. How did you get it correct? And that's about relationships. And so again, back to the question of what do young people have a challenge with? It's developing relationships and being patient to learn a concept or to trust the other people, like the teacher, that we're trying to help you. We're not trying to hurt you. And it goes in all realms of life.
Absolutely. So what advice would you give to any, educator that's working with today's youth? What's one piece of advice you would give to them?
Advice for today's youth for an educator is be patient and encourage the students to share. Create a safe environment. We have a concept we call safe faith conversations, for example. What is that? It is for a teacher to create in the room. This is how we're going to share. These are rules that you can help build, so that these are words that we're not going to use in this room. These are gestures that we're not going to use in this room. If someone errs and does violate one of these guidelines that we've set up, let's talk through what the effect is. So creating a safe environment, and often that means taking the device away, the distractions away, for a certain amount of time so that we can interact with each other.
Hmm. Absolutely. What I would also add to that, to encourage them, um, to help the children have confidence and creativity.
Mm-hmm.
They may have to change their lesson plans to incorporate creativity and confidence building as well. Um, yeah, yeah.
And here's a thing to do. Here's a thing to do. A takeaway, I think. Uh, quick game with you and me. I haven't done this on camera before, so let's see how it works. Um, there are two magic words that can resolve an issue to set up the environment. They are yes and. So here's what we're going to do. Let's plan a party. You plan the party. Tell me what you want to do, and whatever you say, I'm just going to say no. So
I want you to bring in tables, set them up,
no,
but I need you to also put up some streamers,
no,
saying happy birthday.
no,
I need you to help bring in the food or help prepare the food.
no. Okay. How are you feeling, Calvin?
I'm not feeling very grateful.
You want
I'm
to
not
keep
feeling.
doing, you want to keep
I do
doing this?
not. I
Okay.
do
Well,
not.
okay. Since I said no to you, let's try this. I'll make some suggestions for the party, and then you say yes, but, and give me a very brief reason why not. Okay.
Mhm.
So we want to have a party. I want to bring some chicken. I want to bring some soda, and I want to bring some streamers. How do you think of that? That'll work. That's a good place to start. Yeah.
Yes, but I think maybe we should have something besides chicken.
Okay.
And
Okay. So you don't want that. You don't want chicken. So let me bring some potato chips. No chickens, because I know there's vegans around. How you think potato chips instead of that?
yes, but maybe we need another protein.
Okay. Never mind. So I'm not feeling this, and you're not feeling this. This is what happens in a classroom. Two ideas, one goal. Nobody wants to play. Now let's resolve this. And the two words are yes and. No matter what you've got to say, even if you disagree with me, say yes and let's see what happens.
Let's go.
All right. So Calvin, you want me to bring some chairs and some things to set up, right?
Yes, and I also need some food. Can you bring something to eat?
Yes. And I offered to bring chicken, and yes, you said some other protein. We can do that, can we?
Yes, we can. Yes, and also streamers, not pink, not blue, maybe a neutral color.
Yes. And I'll look for some neutral colors. And Calvin, how are you feeling now about planning the party?
A lot better. We can do this. I feel
And this
great
is
about it.
And this is a simple exercise to show when you shut the people down, they don't want to participate. They may come up with objections and not want to participate. But when you create a yes and environment, even in disagreeing, you move things forward. So that's a teacher takeaway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I learned that at Second City.
As did I. And I use it in life. You know, I mean, really, this has been a marriage technique that we had, and it creates some humor in the house, that we've had some disagreements over the years, and there will be a moment when the wife says yes and, or I will go yes and I recommend this when I'm doing marriage counseling, and it slows things down just a moment so you listen and hear rather than force your way through.
Absolutely. Well, Michael, we're going to put a pin in it right here. Take a short 60-second break. We'll be right back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. And we will be right back. I'm Calvin Gibbs. This is Born to Speak to You TV, and here is the segment we like to call Born to Rise.
I often get asked, how do I get motivated? What motivates me? Well, I want to let you know that your biggest source of motivation are your own thoughts. So think big. The bigger you think, the more you can motivate yourself, not only to win, but to help somebody else, to make your dreams turn into goals, turn into success. So the biggest source of motivation is right up here. Your own thoughts. Own them, embrace them, love them because they're yours, and motivate yourself.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark.
We are back, and this is Born to Speak to You TV. And man, we're having a great conversation. My guest, Michael Edgar Myers, and myself, we're talking about speaking truth through the performing arts. Our next segment, Michael, is called Preserving History Through Performance. And I know it's important to tell history through theater and through music, but I'm going to ask you to tell us about your project that connects Juneteenth and Independence Day.
Sure. Thank you for asking, Calvin. For several years, Kingdom Impact Theater has created a series of plays for churches, starting out, that connect the relationship between African American history, Black history, and Christian faith. And I make a distinction between Black history and African American history, using Black history as the global history of descendants from Africa, and then African American history focusing on the effect of the Americas on the descendants of Africa and Christianity in those. So we wound up with 6 shows over the last 20 years on those concepts. And each of those shows we put together in a package we called Convergence of History, 4 anniversaries, one faith. 2026, there are 4 significant anniversaries that are have occurred in conjunction with America 250. America 250 is number 1. Then we work back Juneteenth. This is the 5th year that Juneteenth was a federal holiday. And then looking into February, we had Black History Month, the 50th anniversary, and it all began with Negro History Week, the centennial. And so by looking at how Christian faith has woven between those, the good and the bad, we've got a nice body of work that have helped us grow as individuals, but also we've had feedback of how those pieces have impacted audiences.
Absolutely. So what do you hope audiences discover about America's shared history?
America's shared history. Well, it is rooted in the belief in, as the Declaration of Independence says, we are endowed by our Creator. The Creator presupposes that in this country there is faith beyond just us, just the American judicial system or the political party system. And so the shared history is how whoever lives here, the current population, defines the Creator, defines God. And through that, we get an opportunity to understand better what independence is, what freedom is, and how to truly treat each other. And 2 key components of that have to do with forgiveness as well as confession.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I believe that storytelling can help bridge cultural divides. Let's just stay with storytelling for the moment. I know that once stories are told and people can find that common thread between one culture and another, they can then say, well, we're not that different after all. And they can start coming together and bridge what divides them. Uh, what do you, through your work in the theater, how do you guys use storytelling to bridge cultural divides?
Storytelling through cultural divide has to do with hearing the stories and recognizing the humanity between cultures. Uh, I feel your pain. People have similar pain. People have similar heroes. People have similar challenges and hopes. We don't always think that's the case because we're often in our own cocoon. And through the common experience of different people groups coming to see a theater piece about George Washington Carver or about Harriet Beecher Stowe or even uh, I forget her name now. What's it, the stamp lady? The Susan B.
Oh,
Anthony. That's it. Susan B. Anthony. Yeah.
yes,
We
yes.
tell these stories from different places, but you hear the common experience. I had trouble with Susan B. Anthony because Vicky does a show where she does 10 women individual monologues from different cultures. And the connection is their faith, but each woman on stage connects with a certain period or challenge that the woman on in the audience went through. And so that's the commonality, is being able to share the stories that are common to humanity.
Okay. Let's move into our next segment. This is a segment called Communication That Builds Community. And I know that you've worked with schools, you've worked with different churches, community organizations. Is there a commonality between them?
Yes, the commonality is in diverse situations: a church, a school, a community agency. In the demographics we have in this country, uh, people have similar backgrounds, many things that we've discussed already this evening, but there is a faith component, a belief component among those diverse cultures that addresses whatever issues individuals in the audience may feel or in the classroom may feel. Um, if someone's wrestling with substances or if someone's wrestling with issues at home, uh, domestic interpersonal relationships, if someone's wrestling with self-worth and self-identity, there is a spiritual component that also ought to be addressed in that situation for the individuals to deal with. We're not always comfortable doing that, but I think that's a commonality that we have found in our community work.
Hmm. Hmm. And what habits tear communities apart?
The habit that tears community apart most, I think, is uh, me.
Mm,
Me, I tear the community apart. My agenda, my belief, my desire versus the global.
mm.
As we did with our yes and exercise, we I hope got to see I can hear you and I have an opinion or and I have a hope because the goal is here. If we look at our country right now, what we see is a lot of me. When we look at George Washington, the first president, he warned against political parties because his concern in his farewell address was that we would focus on me, my party, versus we, the United States. And so we are in this whole era of meisms. And so that really tears community apart uh, more than love your neighbor as yourself. That's the greatest commandment.
Indeed, indeed. I believe that we can become better listeners, that we should become better listeners before becoming better speakers. As you said, It all starts. Oftentimes, we need to start listening not only with these, but with our heart as well. We're going to take a short break. This is our last break, commercial break, and we'll be right back with closing thoughts. This is Born to Speak to You TV. We'll be right back. And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm going to bring my guest back in for just a second because I want to do the last segment with him. This last segment is called 30 Seconds to Speak Life. Michael, this is the last. This time I'm going to play the game with you. Okay, you have 30 seconds, sir, to speak life. 30 seconds or less. Please try to go for the less so we can get some questions in there. This is going to be rapid fire. Okay, are you ready?
And go.
What does the word speak life mean to you personally?
Speak life means to me personally that we should encourage each other with whatever we say and do with individuals.
If you could encourage someone who's struggling today, what would you tell them?
I would tell someone who's struggling today to have a good support group, to have strong faith and understand why you believe, and never be afraid to ask a question.
What's one message that you hope people will remember long after this interview?
Long after this interview, I hope that people will remember that we laughed, that there were moments of insight, and yes, and is a key to resolving conflict.
Okay. What legacy do you hope to leave?
I hope to leave a legacy that I cared for people, that I listened and shared things that I've learned from my faith to build someone else's faith.
Okay, and last question is, what are you most excited about in this season of your life?
In this this season of my life, I'm most excited that I've got physicals coming up that will keep me from having to have long-term care. I'm also very thankful in this season of my life that I've got healing relationships with my wife, my daughter, and my friends, and we've just been having a grand time learning to walk with the Lord more deeply.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And for
Hercules.
And for our audience, if you want to reach out to contact Michael, his information is coming up on the screen. You can contact him at mem@kit-ministries.com. That's mem@kit-ministries.com, and someone there will be sure to get back to you. Michael, I want to thank you for being a great guest here at Born to Speak to You TV. You can come back anytime when you have something going on, man. Just call me up.
Calvin, I appreciate talking with you today, being here in the studio, and also knowing that we can have conversations that are outside of Cracker Barrel.
Yes, we can. But we should have a couple more inside Cracker Barrel and get and get our eat on, right?
Right. And now that we've mentioned them two times in this show, I think you should get a new sponsor. Hint, wink.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Okay. I'll talk to you later. Thank you for being here. We'll be right back after this short message. This is Born to Speak to You TV. And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. And man, what a great conversation I've had with my guest, Michael Edgar Myers, speaking truth through the performing arts. We talked about his journey, faith in action, the power of humor, empowering the next generation, and preserving history through performance, as well as communication that builds community. If you would like to see this episode and all past episodes, maybe even future episodes of Born to Speak to You TV, then I'm going to ask you to please scan the QR code on your screen and leave a comment. Let us know how you like the show. Some things you like, maybe you didn't like. Maybe you would like to be a guest or can refer a guest to us. And subscribe. Please like the channel, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about the channel. We are a grassroots show, if you will. We're building steam. We're growing subscriptions. The show is wrapping up. And I want to thank not only my guest, Michael Edgar Myers, but I want to thank DFN Broadcast Studios for giving me this platform to have this opportunity to speak life into the moments that matter. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and until next time, keep speaking life into the moments that matter.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose, and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold. Now he walks in purpose, pure and true. He was born to speak to you. He's got that rhythm in his truth, that fire in his flow.